There's something special about this weekend. My home feels alive again. The laughter, the footsteps, the extra shoes by the door. My older girls are back home from university, and just like that, our kitchen feels whole again. This Thanksgiving, I wanted to do something simple but meaningful. Life's too busy to chase perfect. We are starting off with lemon chicken. In an African home, we typically wash our chicken with either lime or vinegar. I know what the sign says. I work in a food background and I know that it's recommended not to wash, but I know both of my grandparents in their graves will be turning. So I do wash my chicken. And then I proceed to cut and take out the back and crack it open. Hand towels are your best friend during this time because you need to pat your chicken dry so that it's really dry to absorb your seasoning. I season with the basics first. Some salt and good old black pepper. The lamb gets a similar treatment with cleaning of water and vinegar or lemon in my case. Pat dry and then the basics in seasoning. After that, I add in some powdered seasoning, which includes oregano, white pepper, lemon pepper, and some olive oil. Place this in the refrigeration for further marinating of your seasoning. This can be overnight, that gives you the best flavoring of your food. These two dishes remind me of how a few humble ingredients can turn into something festive. It's a little Ghanaian, a little Canadian, my kind of balance. A little of zest, a bit of warmth. Do not forget to wash and thoroughly disinfect the area where you prepped the chicken and lamb. In my case, I use some Lysol and some hot water and soap, of course. After a few hours or overnight in the fridge for the chicken and lamb, I go ahead and prepare my fresh seasoning. I have some parsley, some oregano, some thyme and rosemary, and fresh garlic, which I chop and mix in, of course, some fresh lemon juice and some butter. This is probably my favorite part of marinating the chicken further because my arms get a workout. Once this is thoroughly mixed, you go ahead and rub this and gently massage into the whole chicken fully. You can put it under the skin, in the thigh, what have you. The goal is to ensure that it is thoroughly marinated to get a flavorful meal. Once this is completed, it goes into the oven and it bakes for about an hour and a half. After baking for about an hour and a half, I proceed to broil for a little bit. Be careful though, I tend to burn mine at a higher temperature, so you may have to lower your oven temperature to about 300 or 375. Really depends on your oven. Do note, before I put in my chicken in the pan, I love to cut in some vegetables. This helps to enhance the flavor even more. With my lamb, I got some help from my brother and my husband. An opportunity to use our grill just before the cold weather sets in. Thanksgiving, it's all about being thankful for the people around you. I am grateful for the little things and the little support that I get from everybody in my household. Just take a look at this lamb. I am ready to dive in and eat. I don't have a good record of temperature control. My chicken is burnt, but I'm sure it's going to taste amazing. Now, onto my pot of soup. No celebration in my home feels complete without comforting pot of soup. Today, it's light soup, rich with crabs, shrimps, mushrooms, and some corn. I started by cleaning and making sure that the vegetables and the protein are all thoroughly cleaned. What I love most about this soup is that you can put it together with the really simple ingredients. I just had in tomatoes, carrots, ginger, some pepper, and onions. You can add in some eggplants, if you have, but really that's about it. I proceed to boil for a few minutes and then blend when they're a little bit soft. You have the option of straining your tomato mix after blending, or you can pour it directly into your pot. Totally up to you and your preference. Allow this to simmer for a little bit and throw in some tomato paste. That's also optional, but it gives you that added tomato flavor. You can add in your seasoning of choice. I have a bit of green seasoning and some cube. In my home, in most Ghanaian homes, light soup is a symbol of comfort. It's the kind of meal that brings quiet joy, one spoonful at a time. I love adding in corn, mushrooms, crabs for all the earthy flavors. You have to wait on the shrimps though. Don't put it in too early. You put it in when your soup is almost done, otherwise, it becomes too chewy. It adds a hint of sweetness. It's fusion, yes, but it's still home. There you have it. Look at that. Look at how this soup comes together. The aromas and the flavor of this pot of soup is so inviting. I'm tempted to just dig in and start eating right away, but I know better. I know to wait till it's fully cooked and I have the entire family to enjoy together. I'm gonna allow this soup simmer for a little bit more, about 1 to 2 minutes, before I proceed on to my next meal. I move on to the sides, baked potatoes. I have already cleaned my two potatoes and peeled them, and now cutting them into even sizes. Once done, I gently season with some olive oil, paprika, white pepper, and some yogurt. The yogurt allows the potatoes to be soft on the inside and crisp on the outside. Once fully mixed, I toss this into my baking pan and in goes the oven for some baking. Look at this finished product. On to our next side dish, jollof rice, of course. My girls would never forgive me if I didn't make this. Let me share a little secret of mine as a busy mom. Before the holiday begins to rush in, I always take time to prepare a few essentials, simple things that make cooking so much easier when the house is busy. One of my favorites is the roasted tomato base. My little secret to adding depth and flavor to almost any cooking I do, from jollof to stews and even soups. I generally use ripe tomatoes, bell peppers, onions, carrots, garlic, and ginger. Simple ingredients, but when you roast them together, they transform into something incredible. Once roasted, I blend until smooth and portion into various sizes in a of container and freeze until I'm ready to use. For this Thanksgiving jollof, I simply bring out my portioned tomato base and simmer over oil, some tomato paste, and a can of tomato or fresh tomatoes if you prefer. Allow to simmer for a few minutes. It really comes together pretty quickly because your tomato base, it's already been cooked. You season with your season of choice, but my pro tip here always is to use some white pepper, curry powder, and some nutmeg. I promise you, these does make a difference. Once fully cooked, you portion your stew and then leave the rest for the jollof. Proceed to washing your rice. Remember, my ratio here for cooking jollof rice is 1 to 1 or 1 to ½ a cup. This truly depends on the type of rice you're using or how soft or how fluffy you want your rice. So I think with time, you can figure that out. You wash your rice, put that in the stew, add in some water. You can add in stock if you have it. In my case, I did, so I added a few cups of water. This is very optional, but it does build up the flavor of your jollof. When you're okay with the seasoning and the salt content, you can cover it with a foil or a baking sheet to trap in the moisture so that your food cooks very well. Depending on the size or the amount of rice I'm cooking, I generally would give it a 30 minutes, allow it to cook before I remove the lid and fluff the rice, cover again for another 20 to 25 minutes before it's fully cooked. When I look around this table, I am reminded that these are the moments that matter. Another secret: the salad and ravioli are store-bought, and that's okay. The laughter, the teasing, and stories from campus and the quiet moments in between bites are truly what's grateful. Remember, joy doesn't need to be complicated. Until next time, my friends, may your kitchen stay seasoned with love.